Hello and welcome to Crushing Comics, the show where I fall in love with my comic book collection all over again. I'm your host, Peter, and I have a comics problem. All of these were my oversized hardcovers back in Philadelphia. They were on a shelf, much like this one. And then the movers were coming, and I had to get them packed safely for a trip to New Zealand, where I live now, as quickly as possible. So I just kind of bailed them up. It took like 8 hours to bail them all up in these little bubble wrap and butcher paper packages. And now I have to unwrap them all, and I gave myself very little indication of which books are in what. Sometimes there's some scribble. I see a W on this one. Wolverine? I don't know. But I really don't know what's going to be in them, which I thought would be kind of fun because I started my collected edition collecting in 2010. I'd previously owned a lot of comics back in the 90s, and I hadn't really been reading. And I came back in 2010 because, actually, I had a house, and I felt like, oh, I don't need to be saving all this money for a house every month. I can enjoy some aspects of life now. Let me buy some comic books. We all see how that turned out. But that was maybe a little bit ahead of the whole unboxing phenomena on YouTube. And so I didn't really get the chance to share all these awesome gets, because I really found some amazing stuff that was hard to find. And also just bought a lot of brand new stuff that was great. So I'm kind of vicariously, myself and for you, doing unboxing now by unwrapping. I can't even tell you how many there are, honestly, but there's going to be a lot of episodes of the show. So let's see what we got here. Oh, okay, this is really one of the best ones. And I think we're going to unwrap this one on camera because I'm not giving this one away. So this is the Jerome Pina cover of Uncanny X-Men Volume 3, which is part of Chris Claremont's legendary Uncanny X-Men run. This one picks up with issue 154, so we're post-Dark Phoenix, we're post-Magneto's showdown with the Russian nuclear submarine. Now we are approaching Rogue becoming a member of the team, Cyclops is phasing off, Kitty is getting to be more of a real team member. And this has some of the comics that were my first floppy back issues that I got in comic collections. Let's see if I can avoid the glare here. I love the one where Kitty has to pretend to be Jean. Little Carol Danvers as Binary, one of my faves. This also has the Wolverine limited series in it, and somewhere, if I can figure it out with my pointing, is Rogue's first issue as an X-Men. Yeah, that's in this. Yeah, it's in this. Towards the bottom somewhere. There it is. I have that. That's one of my faves. So, I think we're going to break this one open. So, you find I've never set into buying comic collections to have them unopened on the shelf. It always starts really innocently, right? You're just gonna get that one book you always wanted to read. My origin story actually is heavily connected to Uncanny X-Men, because my initial goal back in 2010 was I just wanted a shelf, much like this one, of Uncanny X-Men. That's all I wanted. I just wanted issue 1. Issue was on 523 at the time, and that I would have been happy. If I could have just given Marvel $1,800 to just send that to my house, which is I don't know, 3 something an issue, seems fair. I would have done it, and none of this would exist. But Marvel not only didn't have that available, but they didn't explain in the slightest how to do that. They just had this series of unconnected books. Essentials, which were black and white, Masterworks, which were in color, omnibuses, which were oversized, paperback collections, which epics didn't exist at that point. And it was dizzying. And as I was trying to make sense of the dizziness, I created my first X-Men collecting guide on my blog, Crushing Crisis, and that, over time, turned into collecting guides on every single major Marvel character, now also beginning to be DC guides. And all just because I wanted this freaking book, or something like it. So I'm so excited for this. I usually will go with a classic cover on an omnibus of Silver or Bronze Age material, but the classic cover that they used was this really dull one of Cyclops with his holding Savior's body. That's never been a favorite of mine. I mean, I think it's Paul Smith. Paul Smith is great, but I love Opina. And this with the Brood, who really have their first big run here, is just terrific. So this is my first time opening this book. Oh, I love it so much. You know, here's the thing about reading old. Gosh, the art looks so great. So here's Wolverine and the Brood. What a great page to open. Just carefully lift this up. Just such a great page. Look at that. Now I've totally lost my train of thought. Oh, so something about reading these early 80s books, especially Claremont, is they are wordy, dude. Like, I can read a current comic book in like 6 to 12 minutes, not even like in a rush, just that's how long it takes me to read a current issue from Marvel or DC or Image or Boom or Vault or whoever. But Claremont X-Men, especially Hundredths Claremont X-Men, is like a 20, 30-minute read maybe. That's the same, honestly, Wonder Woman by Perez from the mid-late 80s is a solid 20-minute read per issue too. And that's without even taking a lot of time to linger on some of the artwork, which is just stunning. So this not only has the X-Men run, but Marvel's been taking the tact with these omnibuses to make them like slightly more complete than whatever other editions have existed. So these are a little bit more complete than the Masterworks by virtue of including a couple of things that the Masterworks haven't included. Not this one specifically, because this, I think, has all stuff that was in Masterworks. But the previous edition, Volume 2, had some Marvel fanfare issues in it that the Masterworks have skipped. So it seems, and they're really doing a good job with chronology of like making sure the right issues go in the right place, which the Wolverine miniseries in this one really indicates well. So actually, this is a great segue. Every year there's this poll by this awesome internet person who remains totally anonymous named Tiger Eyes for everybody's most wanted Marvel Omnibus of the year. And I'm actually running those down as I did in 2016, I did in 2017 on Crush and Crisis. And in 2016, the top vote getter was Volume 4, the volume that would come after this. But it's a matter of some controversy because usually there are 3 Marvel Masterworks volumes for every one omnibus. So this omnibus, most of its content comes from these 3 Masterworks volumes. You can see how obsessed I am that I have those 2. I will buy Uncanny X-Men in like 3, 4, 5 formats before I blink an eye. And so we're not that far with the Masterworks into the next sequence. There's only one, Masterworks 10. So the question is, like, are we really have to wait for 2 more Masterworks, which is at least 2 more years, before we could have a Volume 4 omnibus? However, X-Men actually has progressed into that material with their, I might not have it unwrapped. Oh no, here it is. With their Epic collections. So, in reality, this could be the next omnibus, and there's actually one more book that will go after this, which is called X-Men Ghosts, which covers from where this one leaves off at 198, so 199 to like 209. So we have the material collected already. Maybe they could issue another omnibus, but then the question becomes, what goes in it? Because X-Men had splintered so much at this point. New Mutants had been launched. There are several miniseries which Claremont was not supervising, like Iceman and Nightcrawler. And also X-Factor launches around, I guess, like in the area of issue 200 for Uncanny X-Men. And all of the omnibuses that come later, which are like just overgrown hardcovers, integrate New Mutants and X-Factor. Fall of the Mutants does it. Mutant Massacre does it. Inferno does it. So the question is like, well, is Marvel going to do like a straight Uncanny X-Men Volume 4, or are they going to start integrating the beginning of those other series too, so that you kind of have like one complete X-Men bookshelf? And there's a lot of different opinions. I have my own map that I think is brilliant, but Marvel's collection department, when it comes to X-Men, doesn't make a whole lot of unforced errors. They tend to do it pretty well. So whenever that Volume 4 comes out, it's going to sell hugely, and I'm sure they'll probably reprint some of the earlier volumes as they did when Volume 3 came out. But that Volume 3 has a lot of my favorite issues post-Phoenix Saga, which is, of course, like the Privative Classic, especially the Rogue joining. Rogue is, if not my favorite, probably my second favorite X-Men after Kitty Pryde. So this one just has all the stuff that I love. So now we are going to do the ceremonial putting on shelf. I'm so happy to have unwrapped it. It has a great new book smell. And we're going to do the ceremonial shelving. Maybe later when they're all unwrapped, we'll do like a sped up video of me trying to alphabetize them all, which will probably take like 8 hours. But here we go. Let's see. Goes after T. There you have it. So thanks so much for watching me unwrap that one of my favorites. That's the best part of this. Like, I don't know if I'm going to unwrap something, I'm like, oh, that one, I can't believe I bought that one. There's going to be a few of those. But not today.